time to start a brand new project, and this is my Tamiya M05. Just there. It's the Monte Carlo Mini version. I'll be doing the body separately after I've finished the chassis. Just going to quickly run through the upgrades I've already got for the M05. Got some racing shocks. These are the same type that are on my drift car, the TT01. Very good shocks, very nice. Lots of adjustability in them. Got some boom racing bearings which come in this nice little box here. Really cool, you can use that later. So they were from Asia Tees. Got a steering rod, aluminium steering rod from the servo to the steering. I think that was from Asia Tees as well. This was for an eBay build, all the way from Australia. eBay buy from Australia. The aluminium steering kit from Racing. Got 3 Racing body post stiffener, just there. And finally we've got the 3 Racing linkage set with the nice blue anodised bits there. So we're going to get started on this build. I'm going to do the body completely separately. There's loads of extra parts and bits to add on to the body, so I'll do that as a completely separate little build series. So yeah, we'll get started on this M05. First step is to assemble the main chassis. So we've got this bit here. I'm not going to name what these parts are, but these are sort of similar battery trays to the TL01. I've cut out all the bits. I'm going to cut out all the bits before I actually build them together. I think this is the way I'm going to do this build video. But you can see in the book on the left hand side you've got these little indicators here of what screws you need for each part, and these actually line up and are to scale. So if you ever get stuck, just have a look in the instructions, and these are actually to scale to the parts you need. So this part goes in here. Now when you're screwing into fresh plastic on a brand new kit, you want to be really careful. Just do it slowly and take your time. You don't want to strip out any screws when you're building a fresh brand new kit. It's really going to put a downer on the whole thing. So just do it very gently. I'm not using my screwdriver either, my drill, my little Bosch one, simply because I don't want to strip out any of these new parts. Just do it very gently. Screw that in. So this is obviously just for the main battery. The main battery goes through this part here, like on the TL01. So screw these in gently, and we're on to the next part. Need to cut out some more bits. I'm not going to actually video me cutting out parts because it's very boring and takes quite a lot of time. So that's that part done there. That's the first step. Very simple. Second step, we're assembling sort of the main chassis here. Second part. So this bit simply places on top of there, and these are actually adjustable mounting points for the rear suspension, so you can change the wheelbase. You can fit different bodies on. I think there's a 210, a 225 and 235, something like that. I can't remember. I'll clarify when I actually get to that part. So yeah, it's just adjustable wheelbase on this one and the M06, just so you can adjust the wheelbase, fit different bodies to whatever you want to run, which is pretty cool. Not many RCs actually do that. So yeah. So again, gently screwing them in. Like that. There you go. Sorry. So yeah, second part done. Next part is doing the same as in the first part, but just on the other side. See that bit there? Same screws and same parts, just on the opposite side. So gently screw them in. That's one. And that's 2. Again, being very gentle just to screw these in. Not doing it particularly fast, that's why I'm not using the drill. Done. Then we're actually using this motor plate here, adjustable for different pinion gears, I'm guessing. So you've got that bit there, and this bit fits on the inside like that, just clicks into place. There's one screw that goes to this corner here. Be very gentle about it. Done. And then this screw is a little bit different. It's a countersunk screw. You can see it's actually got an angled edge there. Like camera's probably not going to focus here. You can see it's actually got an angled sort of top there, and that slots into this hole down there, which is also countersunk, so it sits flush when I screw it in, so it doesn't actually poke out. Screw that in. There you go. You can actually see. You can't actually see the top of the screw. On to the next step. Now, if you've seen my channel before, you would have definitely seen this diff before, the standard Tamiya diff. Very simple when you put it together. All it is 3 these small gears, got 2 of these bigger ones, got a couple of metal washers, 3 screws, and obviously the diff casing. Very simple to put together. Now, you will be using the grease for the first time. This is just the standard Tamiya grease that comes in the kit. It's really good stuff, so just layer this on there. It's obviously for the front wheel drive system. So you put a bit of grease on that one there, place the washer over. It's quite small, so it can get quite fiddly. You've got big hands. So that's the first one. Then you just want to grease that top ring as well. Once this is all spinning round, it should all sort of spread itself around. So don't worry if it's all on one side, doesn't really matter. And that goes into the bottom, like this is where grease gets all over your mat, obviously. And that just pokes out the bottom like that. And lay that down. Get some towel. Make sure you've got some towel around just to mop up any of the grease on your hands. If you get it all over plastic parts, it's going to get really slippery, and it's just really horrible to work with greasy hands. So you see that sitting in there. Next step is to put this centre bit together. They just fit like that. So it looks like a star pattern, sort of. And that goes into these little grooves here, 3 grooves all the way around, which they slot into. Now this can get quite tricky. There you go, oh that's easy, like that. And then just whack a load of grease all in there, like that, sorted. So once that's spinning around, it should spread it all around and get a nice even coating over everything. Just put a bit more in, like that. So that's fine. Then you put the top on, same as the bottom. So grease that flat edge there. Fit the metal washer on. Put a load more grease on there, like that. And then place that into the diff. Just drop it in, like so. And then this is just a little cover plate, which actually, put that in the wrong way. These points here actually go down those slots, like that, and that screws together. That's the diff done. Very simple, very quick to do. And you find most of these in most of the Tamiya kits, like the TL01, the TT01, all sorts of kits. So very used to these diffs, very used to them. Little tip, just after you've screwed it together, just make sure that it actually spins nice and freely. See that end's turning. Now when I first did it, it was actually a bit stiff and a bit difficult to turn because this wasn't even and it wasn't quite sitting right in there, so I had to undo it, just rejiggle a few bits and put it back together. So it's a good job I checked. But yeah, that spins nice and freely now, and that will also work all the grease around properly just before you run it. So yeah, sounds good. Weirdly enough, next it asks you to assemble the, which ones are we doing? I think these are the front arms, and it's a first for me. They actually screw together. Usually the arms that I work with are just sort of one piece out of plastic. So you're just using a little self-tapper screw to screw these arms together, which is quite interesting. So you can see that there. That's one. And the second one goes into here. Now the direction does matter here, it does say in the instructions that the direction matters. So you've got one that looks like that, and you've got another one that looks like that. So yeah, direction does matter, so just have a quick scan of the instructions and you'll see which direction they go in. Very simple. Now we're assembling the gears. Got these two here, and we're actually using the first of our upgrades here. We've got the Boom Racing bearings from Asia Tees. So one just slides into there, and you've got a little one that's there, slides into, sorry, just knocked the camera. Now one tip that I did actually see on here is you can actually use the box wrench to push these in flush, which is quite a cool idea. Never thought to do that before, because you can see that the big one, the big end, and the wheel nut one is actually the perfect size for that bigger bearing, and the smaller end is actually the perfect size for that little bearing. So I've never actually considered doing that before. Pretty cool idea. So that one just slides into there, and just to make sure it's even, that one just slides into there. So super cool idea. So that's another tip that I've gained just from building a kit. First thing I'm going to do is just slide these two parts together. It does say to put grease sort of somewhere here on this bottom edge, I think, and on there. I'm not going to bother doing that because it's probably not going to come apart for a while, so I'm just going to leave that. Slide those together. They slide together pretty well as well. So look, you can actually see the length of the chassis there. It's quite long, just for a little car. And then it's held in with 3 little screws. So one goes in there. Can't see this really. One goes there. There you go. What I'll do is I'll just sort of tighten these loosely to begin with, and then when I've finished building I'll just go over all the screws and give them a quick torque down just to make sure they're all tight. That's the one on the bottom done, and then there's one, let's have a look. Yes, on the underside, of this brace here, it's just on the underside, just there. It slides into there, goes into there. Perfect. Sorted. So you can see it there. And then we actually put the gears in. So I've got this piece here, which actually fits that way. Just slides into this front here. Make sure that's in square and flush. So it's in there. And this is where we actually grease these shafts, and they actually go into there. So I'm going to do that now. Just a loose light coat all over. This bearing keeps dropping out. So the longer shaft goes into the longer gear. So it just slides in there. Like that. Keep paper towel handy so you don't get grease all over yourself. And that, at the big end, should fit in there, like that. Quite a snug fit, that fits in there. And then the other gear, the smaller one, with the smaller shaft. Put another layer of grease over that. Slide it in there just to get all the grease everywhere. Just put a bit at that end. Why not? There you go. That slides into that one there. It's quite difficult to tell in the instructions, so I'll have a quick look. Sussed it out. That one goes in first, and then that one goes in. It's a nice smooth motion there, because this one, that bigger round gear there, fits behind this one. So it'd be nice if they actually had that in the instructions, but it's not really particularly clear. It just says that both of them go in, so just be sure to check about that. But yeah, it's been really nice. So I'm just going to put some grease on there, and we'll move on to the next step. So I've slightly changed the camera angle on this because we're actually putting the two halves together. So the diff goes into there, like that, and put some grease just all the way around here. Just lather it in. It's all going to find its way around anyway when you start running the car, so don't worry too much about where you get it. Just try and cover as much as you can. Give that a quick spin around. so make sure it gets into all the nooks and crannies. Another one there, the splodge there, just work it around like so. Let's put another bit there. There you go. If you've got old jeans, just wipe your hands on your old jeans, it's fine. So I've already mounted that bearing and the housing into there. These parts just should just slide together. Like that. There you go, that's the two halves together. So yeah, looks pretty cool. So now it's just time to screw all of it together. I didn't get enough screws, but it doesn't matter. So, handy little tip, if you've got all the screws, just put in a little magnetic pot, that's the word. Little magnetic pot, just keeps all the screws in place, you can pick them out when you need them. So I'm going to find all the screws and we'll actually screw this together. To actually secure the two parts of the chassis together, you've got 4 screws, you've got one down here, one just there, one up there, and then a countersunk one just there. Quite difficult to tell on the instructions. But I finally worked it out, so I'm going to screw them in now and then we'll move on to the next step. Disaster has struck. Now while I was when I do suspension, I usually put one corner on first just to know how to do it. So there you can see I've got the camber link there, I've got the drive cup and I've got the arm, front arm. So that all went on fine. In this little drive cup here there's actually a O-ring. So in there, remember to put that in. But this was the second side that I did, the first side. It's a bit difficult to get in because of the diff. Like that. So while I was putting this side in, I was putting the camber mount up in there, and you can see the thread snapped off. So let's see if you can see that better. See the thread's not on there anymore, it's actually in there, which is a frigging disaster. I'm really disappointed. Not sure whether it was me tightening it too much or it was just a faulty bit of metal, you know, it's just a bit weaker than the rest of it. So yes, I've got to now fix that somehow, not sure how. I'm going to assemble the rest. I've got the other drive cup here, that just slots in like that. I've already made up the camber link. These things are a real pain, really small, so they're quite difficult to screw together, but I've got that done. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this episode is assemble the front suspension as much as I can, and then I'll sort that out next weekend. I'm either going to drill it out and then try and put another one in. I'll have to get another linkage set as well, just to have some extra ones of these, or I'll get a whole new side and still get the extra link set as well, just so I don't have to deal with that, because that's not a great way to start a project. So really annoyed about it, but we'll move on, see if we can fix it next episode. So I'm going to get the rest of this front suspension together and show you the results. That's one side of the suspension finished. Looks really cool, really nice. Nice free movement all the way around, so really happy with that. Looks really good with the linkage set as well, when it actually screws in properly. So now we're just going to quickly do the other side. So I've got the C-hub there, goes that direction with that going there. Now first thing you want to do is put the bearing in. So like I said before, use the box wrench just to keep it square. It should just click into place like that. I've got this. Just put a bit of grease around that there, just to keep it moving freely. That goes into the knuckle. So give it a quick spin around just to move the grease around. Make sure it spins freely. And that's ready to go into the C-hub. Like that, with kingpin at the top and a kingpin at the bottom. There you go. So these just screw it. Make sure you don't do these too tight, otherwise you're going to restrict movement of the actual knuckle in the hub. And it won't move as freely as it should. So once it's completely tightened, just leave it. Tighten this other one down. Like that. It just suddenly grabs, you'll notice it. There you go, just suddenly grab there. Make sure it moves freely. There you go, moves freely, so that's fine. So then we're going to put these things in. So what I've done is I've already pre-threaded it with a stronger brass one of them, tightened it in twice, taken it out twice, just created a thread ready. And then I'm just going to tighten this in. So I'm just going to go slowly this time. And once it starts to grab, I'll just go back out and go back in again. So I'll finish that off a bit later, just so you're not watching me screwing these things all the time. And get the direction right, that sits in there. So this other ball joint there fits just there. I've also pre-threaded this one as well, so that one fits in at the top there. So I'll get those tightened in and then we'll actually attach it to the car. So now I've tightened those ball joints down, time to actually attach it to the car. Got this screw pin here. Not mad keen on using these, quite like using the ones with the little E clips on the end, or C clips, whatever you want to call them. Quite like using them, but these are okay for now. So just slide that screw pin all the way through, tighten it up. They are a lot quicker, I have to say, than the E clip option, but don't look as good. That should loosen up a little bit. And then I obviously can't do the camber link yet, I've still got to drill that bit out and fix that, but we can always attach it to this side, get a pair of pliers along those pliers, put it round either side, just clip on like that. They're really free moving, which is really good. And the last thing to do is to fit the dog bone into the drive cup either side. Like that, there you go. Then obviously that camber link would go over to that side like that, but obviously I've got to sort that issue out there. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Gonna tidy up and then just say something at the end. So this episode hasn't gone quite as I wanted it to. I ended up stripping and breaking the thread off one of these links, these ball joints from 3 Racing, so a bit of a disaster. Got this side all done, looks really nice, really cool, all nice and free movement, but the other side is obviously not complete. So next weekend I'll attempt to drill that out and clean the thread out and put a new one of these in, and if that fails I'll just replace the whole bit of the chassis and put a new one in there, put a new ball joint in there, and hopefully have it going successfully this time. So yeah, got mainly that side done, just need to get that camber link sorted out, and then that's the whole front suspension done. Next week we should be doing the steering and rear suspension and the motor, so not too far off. I've got quite a lot done today, but just a shame that that had to go and happen. But this thing happens in RC and we have to move on. I'm really annoyed about it, but I'm going to not let it stress me out. So yeah, that's this episode done. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out the Facebook and Twitter pages, links are down below in the description, and I'll see you there. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on RC Projects. Goodbye. Knocked it.